Hello and welcome to this quick guide on how to create scoped weapons like this one in Crayta. So to start with, I am starting from a game which already has the ability to hold weapons and have an inventory system. If you're not sure how to do that, the easiest way to start is by using one of the starter templates that has already got guns involved. Something like the capture the flag template or the gun template. Alternatively, you can go and watch my tutorial on how to add guns to games which don't have guns already involved. And that should help you get started with the gun package. Once you have the gun package, an easy way to make a new type of gun is to go to your templates tab in your library, right click the gun and duplicate. When you duplicate it, give it a unique name. I've called mine Sniper. When I go to my template explorer over here and go to the sniper template, you can see that I've changed a couple of things with my sniper rifle. So I've changed the mesh asset so that it's a railgun rather than an assault rifle. I've also changed a couple of the properties down in the gun script. I've turned off auto fire so that it's sort of one shot. I've increased the amount of time between shots that a player can shoot it. I've decreased the shots per clip, so I've reduced it down to 10 so that after 10 shots the player will need to reload. I've also adjusted the inventory item spec script so that the friendly name is something to do with the sniper rifle, and I've changed the icon asset to be the same as what the gun is here so that the icon is now the railgun. Once I've done all that, I tested the gun out by adding it to the user inventory. So go to the user template here, go to defaults and add entity add script, a new inventory default script, and making sure to select the sniper template as the item template for that one. Once you've done that, you should find that when you press F5, you have the sniper rifle in your inventory and you can switch to it by using number 2 or your inventory switch button. The next step, once I had created my sniper rifle and had my gun which worked and felt more like a gun, was to do this part with the UI. So we've got the kind of the scope overlay and zooming in as well. So that's kind of done in a couple of steps. The first step is to zoom in using the sniper. We just need to find our sniper template again and scroll down in the entity editor to find the iron sight item script. And this manages the kind of the zoom in part, the aim down sight, or here it's called iron sight. And within this script, you have this FOV property here. And FOV stands for field of view, and essentially the smaller the number, the more zoomed in, the larger the number, the more zoomed out. So if we reduce, I think like by default it's set to 60, but if we reduce it to 15, that's when we can get that really zoomed in look. You might also want to change your look speed multiplier, which will essentially change how quickly you can look around once you're zoomed in. I'll leave that to you to balance according to your game. So that's the zoom in part. Now, in order to have that UI overlay of some kind of scope, that's actually not on the sniper template. For that, we need to go to our player template. Within player, you'll see the player crosshair script folder, and that has two things in it. One's a crosshair widget, which is a widget written in HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And one is the crosshair script, which kind of manages all the logic around the widget itself. So I needed to make a couple of adjustments here to add my image, but first I needed to create my image of the scope. So to do that, I used Illustrator. So let's go to this image. And this is the image I created, essentially a big rectangle the size of my Crayta screen. I actually took a screenshot using photo mode from Crayta, and then I drew a big rectangle that size with a hole cut out in the middle. So this is transparent within here, and then a couple of lines to create my crosshair. Once I'd created that, I went over to create.crayta.com, logged in and found my images tab. Within here, I selected my UI images, or I actually upload UI image, and then I just saved this image somewhere and dragged it into here and selected this as my file. Once I did that, it was uploading, and you'll see it's pending approval, and it'll be orange here and pending. But you can still use it to develop your game. It just won't be able to, it won't be visible on your published game until it's been approved. The waiting time to approve is not very long at all. This image, I think, took an hour to get approved. So yeah, if I needed to publish my game within the hour, then that essentially, yeah, it's quite quick. So once I have that, I need to copy that UI URL by clicking this clipboard button and then head back into Crayta. So in Crayta, and I just press escape, return to the game, and made some adjustments to my Crosshair widget. In my Crosshair widget, I created a new class called Crosshair-Sniper. .crosshair-sniper. I essentially found out where all the Crosshair CSS classes were and copied the same sort of style of notation, made one called Crosshair-sniper, and added my background image by typing background-image, URL, open bracket, quote mark, paste in the URL for your image, end quotes, end bracket. And then within here, I've just made it slightly bigger than the screen, so slightly higher and slightly wider than the screen, so that there's a bleed off the edge, so that there's no like single line pixels or whatever off the edge. Turned background repeat off, set the position so that it's smack bang in the middle. It's not quite smack bang in the middle because when I was testing out exactly where my gun was firing, it was slightly lower than the middle. And I think that's just to do with some of the dimensions that I was using. So it was around there. And then I set the background size to 100% by 100% so that it filled the div that it was in. So once I'd created that CSS class, I scrolled down to my HTML and I essentially copied this div here with the dot class and pasted it below the cross class and changed the crosshair type to sniper. So this class will only display if the sniper crosshair type has been selected. Then I did a little bit of logic by going to my iron sight item script, which you can find on your gun template. So sniper, iron sight item script, which is the one we were editing the FOV. Clicked edit and then added a new option to the crosshair type, sniper. Then I made sure that this type was selected for this gun. So on the sniper rifle, I selected sniper, and that will tie into this crosshair type here. So essentially, that will now appear by default when you have that gun selected. Now, for it to only appear when you look down the barrel of the gun or look down the scope of the gun, that needed a little bit more customization. Firstly, I added an aiming property into my crosshair JavaScript model here. So I added aiming : false by default with a comma after it. And then in my HTML, I said only display the sniper div if our type is sniper and aiming is true. Then I managed the aiming logic in the crosshair script. So you can find that in the player, back where our crosshair widget was. Underneath there is our crosshair script. Edit that script will take you here. And there's these two really handy functions down the bottom. On iron sight start, on iron sight stop. I created a new function called toggle aiming. And then within that function, I passed in aiming. You can also pass in the gun if you want to turn the visibility on or off. If you're doing something in first person mode, for example, and the gun's getting in the way of your UI image. So in toggle aiming, I passed this aiming variable argument here, and then I set self.crosshairwidget.js.crosshair.aiming to whatever was passed in there, and then ran that function locally, center local here, ran that function and then set it to true on iron sight start and set it to false on iron sight stop. So essentially not loads of code, just a little bit, just enough to make it work, and only display that widget when you're looking down the scope of the gun. So the edit to iron sight item script was here. It was just adding the sniper to the crosshair type. The edit to crosshair widget was adding the sniper class .crosshair-sniper with our UI image here. And then another edit here was down in the HTML, we set up a div, which was essentially copying this .div and then replacing the crosshair type with sniper and saying only turn it on when its aiming is true. And then down the bottom, our final edit in here was adding the aiming false to our JS model here. We made some customization to the crosshair script too. We sent to local the toggle aiming event, which runs this toggle aiming function. And within there, we turn on or off the crosshair widget, or the sniper widget there. And we turn on or off the gun if we need to do that there. So that's the code that was involved. And the end result, I quite like it. It's a bit of fun. We've got our normal assault rifle here, which we can shoot like that. And then we've got our sniper rifle where we can pick out some targets. And it feels a little bit more, yeah, like a sniper. Now to make a level which can maximize our sniper rifle with some nice long range shot possibilities. And I really look forward to seeing your sniper rifle in Crayta.